Thank you very much for that introduction. I'd like to congratulate all of those who've been involved in organising this evening. I think it's a wonderful objective, really aimed at what can you contribute to Australia as Australian Vietnamese. And one of the nicest things, I believe, is on this flyer, because you've got some words on it, embracing our heritage to become great Australians. Well, I think that's a wonderful objective to have. But some of you have already become great Australians. Somebody who was on the first boat into Darwin Harbour is Lieutenant Governor of South Australia, a very considerable achievement for somebody who arrived by boat in 1976, I suppose. And so congratulations for the concept of this dinner, congratulations for what you're seeking to achieve, and I really think that the program that you've put forward is well worth supporting and well worth promoting. I want to say a little bit about how we began, we, Australia, because a lot of us, I think, don't understand. And I've been doing some research and I've learned some things about our beginning which I didn't know until quite recently. Well, of course, we began as a convict nation. The English wanted to find somewhere to send undesirable citizens, so they sent them to Australia. And that's us. We were a narrow Anglo-Saxon Celtic community. But not only that. In the 1800s, there were a lot of Chinese in Australia. There were a lot of Afghans in Australia. They opened up trade routes and supply routes throughout most remote parts of Australia. The first cigarette I ever bought was off an Afghan trader in the Riverina. I was 7 years old. He hadn't wanted to sell it to me. But even then, I bullied him. And it was something called turf, unfiltered. And I took it to what I thought was a secret place and started to smoke it and got very ill. My family couldn't understand why I went to bed before lunch, and I wouldn't admit to having smoked anything. That put me off cigarettes. Now, if Australia is going to be strategically independent, I think we have to do a few things. You are already doing a lot of them, contributing enormously to Australian society, to Australian economic strength by your energy and vigour, and also to the cultural broadening of Australian society in a major way. None of you would remember how narrow, how insular Australia was in the days when I was growing up, for example. It's a different world, and an infinitely better world as a consequence of your migration to Australia. But I'd like you to ask yourselves, with the political debates going on today, would it have been possible for my government to accept over 20,000 humanitarian refugees from Indochina for 3 years in a row? That wasn't all of it, but for 3 years in a row, in addition to the numbers that came out of normal UNHCR camps, which was not diminished, there were over 20,000 humanitarian intake from Indochina. Now, Gough Whitlam, who I now do classify as a friend, and I think he does me, he made a decision not to take refugees from Indochina. When my government very quickly reversed that, he did not oppose it, made no speeches against it, so the bipartisan policy continued. And if policies involve race or religion or people from a different background or people who look a bit different, we all look a bit different, then it is enormously important for politicians not to play politics with those issues. Now, in today's Australia, my government would have had one hell of a fight if we'd had politicians like the politicians of today to make it possible for this wonderful Australian Vietnamese community to be established in Australia. And you would have found, because so many of you have said, you know, you were welcome where you were billeted, there were toys or clothes for the kids, and people recognised what many boat people had been through, what many others had been through, and they wanted to help. And if politicians spoke now, as politicians spoke in those days, from both parties, both major parties, I believe the attitude in Australia would be totally different. Australians, all Australians, are so much better than their politicians on this issue. But some Australians who are rednecks and don't like others have been led to believe that their views are respectable, that their views are the right views. And these are the views of bigotry, division and racism of a horrible kind. It's very hard to get rid of such views if the politicians are still arguing about the question. I'd like to congratulate the Vietnamese Australian community, looking forward to the future. So I'm sorry to have spoken a little seriously, but I thought it was important that people understand there are major questions in front of us. We need to think about them and decide what we want to do as a nation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I see the lines on your face. I see the look in your eye. I know the love you have for this place. And I see the broken clouds just passing by. And you try so hard, you almost break. And you give and give till there's no. So hold on for one more day. Keep holding out for that first drop of rain. And I'll be here, you have to trust. I'll dry your tears when your dreams are turned to dust. I see the creeks have run dry. The earth is barren and dead. White bones bleach in the sun. And the weight of the world on your shoulders. And you try so hard, you almost break. And you give and give till there's no more. But hold on for one more day. Keep holding out for that first drop of rain. And I'll be here, you have to trust.